Deadzone Rogue demo. What is Deadzone Rogue? It's a roguelite first-person shooter set in deep space from publisher and developer Prophecy Games, which, to be honest, is not an incredibly original idea. This is what the Steam page says: slay hordes of enemies, loot powerful gear, and customize your loadout during each unique run. Uncover fragments of your past as you piece together the truth behind your mission. Fight, die, revive, repeat. I still decided to give the demo a try since Daddy Gabe thought it was relevant to me by the similar games I've played. And to be fair, the gameplay looked fun. I was on a Discord call with my wife while I tried the demo, and there's a couple things I shared with her about the game that I think is worth making a video about on this upcoming game. Now, before I hop into this video, I want to talk about Prophecy Games. I think it's worth mentioning a couple things stated by a user named Amchet on the Steam community. Feel free to visit his post. The link will be in the box below. So here's what Amchet had to say about Deadzone Rogue. This is his community post, and I thought this was really interesting because he's stating a lot of facts here that are relevant to the game that we're kind of like going over today. So he starts it off by listing all the games that this dev team has made, and he starts out by talking about Prophecy, a canceled self-titled game, and this was in June 2020. He said, from what I can tell using the charts, the game was alive for about a month before it was removed from Steam, which is crazy. Massive red flag there. Then he talks about Star Siege Raiders, also a canceled title. 2 years later, in 2022, canceled and later rebranded as Star Siege Deadzone. Then Star Siege Deadzone also canceled a year later, canceled and pulled from Steam, which is crazy. They got another game, Tribes 3 Rivals. It's abandoned. The game is still up. I checked it, but it's abandoned. Servers are still up, but the game is no longer getting updated. So this brings us to Ultra Strikers, which also got alpha tested in 2024, also got canceled. Canceled and never made it to Steam. So they didn't even post this one on Steam, which is crazy. And then now we're on Deadzone Rogue, currently in development, which is the game that we're talking about now. Most of the assets of this game will be recycled from Deadzone, which is the game that's up here, Star Siege Deadzone. He says, make your own decision about supporting Prophecy Games, but make sure you understand their track record. The studio's brass wants nothing more than to release a game that will become an instant hit. If it's not a viral sensation, the game you enjoy will get abandoned quickly after release, leaving you, the customer, holding the bag. So, knowing what I know about this dev company, I decided to still play this game and check it out and just hope for the best. I think this is just good practice for me as a YouTuber to make content and analyze a game, because it's a pretty simple game, and that's why I kind of chose it, because it looked like something I would play. But then I found out about the developer's track record, and I decided to just take it with a pinch of salt and see the game for myself, even though there's clearly a full line of red flags that are saying that the game's not even worth playing. But anyways.
And now for something completely different.
First of all, the game has some pretty neat ambience inside what seems a derelict ship. We awaken to what looks like an empty ship where something or lots of things went wrong. Not much is said about your current situation, and I like how there's some efforts to storytelling as you progress through these robot-infested rooms. Your guy will comment or express certain things here and there, giving you hints as to what might have happened and what's going through his head. And I do appreciate the little bits of dialogue here and there, although the voice acting sounds a little cheap. The rooms at the start of the game can be a bit bland and repetitive, but I distinctly remember how refreshing it was to walk into what looked like a beach room with sand and palm trees, or banana trees, I don't know. So it's a good feeling whenever the game decided to give you a fresh new environment to fight in. I don't always use ray tracing in my games, even though I have a pretty beefy PC build. But in this game, I thought I would see how immersive it could be, and to my surprise, it does give it a nice coat of paint. Reflections from your flashlight can be seen on the walls, and even the light might pick up on the color of what it's reflecting off of. And it was nice to notice these things. Some objects did give off some nice reflections, while others did not, and I was actively looking for all the little details. I am positive these things won't really impact your experience. Now, going into movement, walking, running, jumping, crouching all feel normal and functional, but the best thing I felt was the most fun was being able to dash in whatever direction I'm looking. That means I can dash over enemies and drop on them with a melee or a shotgun blast to the head, maybe even dash into a higher part of the room to avoid getting shot. It is simply fun to be able to dash away in a moment's notice. And the way equipment can increase your movement speed makes it even better. More on gear, weapons, and equipment later. Moving through the rooms or stages is pretty straightforward, but this game gives you invisibility at the start of each room, giving you the chance to study the room and the enemies inside. This I think is a pretty cool concept because since every room is procedurally generated, you have no way of knowing what is inside. And by being invisible, you get to walk in and explore the room and just tackle the room the way you think it's best, with the equipment that you have available. One thing I believe prophecy games should do is whenever you physically contact an enemy or make enough noise, they should be able to spot you or become aware of you. Because currently the enemy AI is not programmed to do anything at all except walk around while you're in stealth mode. Now, going into combat, the enemies I encountered seem not that smart when it comes to combat. Especially in the first few levels, they try to hide behind cover every once in a while, and some of them do seem to try to flank you as you hide behind walls and giant boxes or whatever the game decided to procedurally generate in the room. Enemy variety seemed okay, but there's one thing I want to address about this game that I think is by design and in my opinion, the worst thing about it. But more on that later. After the first few levels, you can start to see more enemy types, like facehugger on the ground, healer bots flying near other enemies, healing them, making them very tanky, big shield guys who you need to flank or jump over to be able to get shots in. There's even humanoid mutations that are very creepy looking and seem to be part of some failed experiment, which I thought was really cool. Now, when it comes to gear, weapons, and equipment, I think the game does a great job at giving you rare drops at a good pace. The weapon design looked okay, and the different types of weapons all felt different and fun to use. And on top of all of that, the random stats and abilities that the guns and armor spawn with can sometimes synergize very well with each other, especially if you know what you're looking for when it comes to making your build. I won't spoil all the cool things these guns can do because that's where most of my fun came from, finding out what my new shiny gun does or how much critical damage I can do now with this new pair of gloves. Now going into progression, usually in a roguelite, the way you progress through the game is by surviving as much as possible, getting ridiculously strong and making a cracked build with all the abilities, skills, weapons, and equipment you can find. And when you inevitably die, you lose everything you find and you just go and try again. In Deadzone Rogue, you do the same things except while you progress through the rooms and clear out all the enemies, you gain currencies that let you buy upgrades. These upgrades make your guys stronger in whatever way you choose, and end up being permanent upgrades that increase your health, elemental damage, currency pickups, grenade damage, sprint speed, shield recharge rate, etc. You get the idea. There's different types of currencies that let you buy new weapons that are procedurally generated that are more often than not are upgrades to your currently equipped weapons. Now, you do all of this in rooms I call the in-between rooms, where it's basically a safe area where you can gear up and make yourself ready for the harder, tougher rooms ahead. Whenever you do find a room with these stations, be sure things are going to get a bit harder. Now going back to what I referred to while I was talking about enemy variety. My main gripe with the game, and the only thing that made me stop playing the demo, is the fact that at some point you will hit a massive difficulty spike. You will literally get obliterated by a boss or an enemy. This game has some ridiculous difficulty spikes that force you to replay the entire beginning of the game again and again to gain enough currency to upgrade the base level of your guy so that you might have a chance to power through that one stage that got you made. I'm sure this sort of thing is normal in roguelites, but for me as a new player, it was just unfair how massive the difference was between one room and the next. It should be a more gradient type of feel, where during your playtime, you feel the enemies getting harder and harder, and maybe clear a room by the skin of your teeth, and then when you do get destroyed by some random enemy, you feel like it's fair, like you do need to get stronger. But right now, it just feels like you're hitting a massive wall that says F you. Last thing I did was get 2-tapped by the first boss I encountered, and it just felt like it was going to take me hours to get strong enough to be able to beat the boss. In conclusion, overall I think Deadzone Rogue has its charm, but taking into consideration the track record of its dev team, Prophecy Games, and also seeing how a lot of the game sure does feel like an asset flip, even some enemies were used as props in the rooms, which I kind of found hilarious. I think we just have to keep an eye out on this one and see where it goes. I like the premise, and I like that it gave me the ability to pick up and choose how I wanted to progress my guy and make the build I wanted to make. I enjoyed not knowing what was in the next room and finding a new gun that I had no idea how it would behave. I hope this game turns into something fun. At the same time, I'm cautiously aware that they released a demo first before announcing a release date, and that's pretty telling about what they are trying to do here. Clearly, they want some sort of hit game to carry them into the night. I feel that if this demo doesn't meet their expectations, they might just never release the game. Who knows? Here's to hoping. Okay guys, that's gonna be it for today's video. I think Deadzone Rogue has some potential. I really do believe the game has a seed of what might be a nice little throwaway game that you might be able to play at the end of the week or whatever. I sure hope that the dev team put some more time and effort into it, because they do have something here. I recommend you try it for yourselves and just let me know what you think. Comment below, drop a like, please subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.